Hello, everyone, and welcome to another video here on the Cycling Dane Extra channel, or if you're listening on the Cycling Dane podcast. Today is a bit of a unscheduled emergency video, or whatever you want to call it, because we had some news from Netflix and the Tour de France Unchained. And here to discuss all that and break it down is none other than cycling journalist from Cyclist, Ewan Wilson, and also birthday boy. So I hope everyone wish him a happy birthday. But I mean, why is this story here? Netflix Tour de France Unchained. Everyone was so happy about it when it happened, but it seems like it's turned a bit sour now.
Not necessarily sour, but Tour de France Unchained will be cancelled following the release of the third series this summer. So the upcoming third season will come out in June, just before the 2025 Tour de France begins in Lille on the 5th of July. That'll be the final series, we believe, with Netflix confirming that filming will not take place at the 2025 Tour de France. There is still sort of a glimmer of hope here. The original sort of news broke through respected French source Le Parisien. They confirmed, well, they suggested and strongly linked that the women's Tour de France Femmes, might be receiving a sort of documentary style series at the 2025 Tour de France Femmes, which will be the longest in the race's history. It's not going to be a series. The men's sort of ones before, they were 8-parters, all about 45 minutes. The women's one will just be a 1-parter and a documentary rather than a docu-series. Slightly different format. But the women's race, it'll be 9 stages this year, a little bit more condensed. And apparently as well, they've also been following some of the rivalries and storylines to follow at that race already. However, it's not been confirmed by Netflix. This is just through sources at Le Parisien, who seem to be quite confident from conversations I had with them. Nevertheless, Scott, this is a bit of a sort of, a quiet cancellation. We've seen it before where plenty of TV shows quietly get cancelled. There are a couple of reasons for it we'll delve into. But that's sort of the brief of it now. Tour de France Unchained is chained. Well, I mean, chained up for life, I guess. It's in the slammer.
Desperately trying to go for something with Unchained.
I was desperately trying, but it was just it wasn't coming to me.
The chain came off. No, yeah. I mean, the whole philosophy behind this. Well, they also really nicely produced the 2 first seasons that we've had already. But it was kind of feeding off the back of the success of Drive to Survive, and subsequently they've done various different same style but for different sports, and cycling was one of them. And I mean, do you think it had that big an impact, Tour de France Unchained? Obviously for cycling people, ourselves included, it gave a great insight, but was there that connection with normal view on Netflix?
I mean, of course, for us, yeah, it was sort of an agenda setting for a while, with particularly that Richard Plugger storyline. Also, that Tom Pidcock stuff as well. Pidcock and Wout van Aert openly expressed that they did not like the way they were portrayed in the show. The teams that sign up to it do not have editorial control. The editorial control is wholly in the hands of that production company, Box to Box Films, who also do Drive to Survive. There's a golf one, there's a tennis one, there's like a sailing one. There's loads of them. There's almost too many. And Netflix also, with sort of the confirmation that they will be cancelling this, or not, I guess like cancelling, they didn't use those words, but they'll be stopping filming of this show. So they said they wanted to go into new sports. I mean, which new sports can you possibly tap into? There seems to be one for everything. But it definitely did sort of help. The show broke into sort of Netflix's trending top 10 in, I believe, 15 countries worldwide. However, one market particularly didn't do so well in was France. It was particularly underwhelming in terms of viewing figures in France. And this show was made specifically with the support of French Netflix in order to consolidate French Netflix subscriptions. This was a French-centric show created for that French market. Half of the shows in the French language. We follow French teams, particularly Age Desert Citroën, or Decathlon as they're now known, and Groupama Français des Jeux. It does have that sort of that centrism there. All the commentary as well on the show is also originally in French. But it didn't quite take off in France, and I think they were disappointed with that, given that was a sort of a mission statement of the show, what was to really capture that French market. It failed in doing that. Although the international sort of support for it was relatively okay, I don't think cycling has quite had its Drive to Survive moment. You know, I'm not seeing sort of people talking about cycling and sort of seeing that cycling market diversify as much as F1 did with Drive to Survive. Also with, I mean, tennis as well. There was a lot of talking about Breakpoint and about how the character storylines evolved there. Really, particularly Onze Jabeur, the tennis player, really got a sort of insight into her life and career. I don't feel like we had that with Unchained. I don't feel we really got an insight and broke through that existing cycling membrane, to be quite honest.
It's a shame because, I mean, I guess this season 3 that is happening will have some very interesting storylines. Biniam Girmay, green jersey, Jonas Vingegaard's comeback, Tad Pogacar's double.
Yeah, I mean, Intermarché I don't think were involved in the previous ones. However, teams that get involved in the show receive €50,000 from the production company in order to have full access, but also they lose the editorial control, which could be a problem with UAE in the upcoming one. I've heard from sources that there's going to be a particular emphasis on the Almeida Ayuso dynamic at the 2024 Tour de France. So, I mean, teams might be a little bit disgruntled, not wanting to open their doors in fear of a kind of PR disaster. We saw that with like Jasper Philipsen. It was painted out to be Jasper the disaster. I mean, we've both met him. He's a nice guy. He's I wouldn't say he's a disaster. He's just a perfectly normal human being. But the show kind of takes away the editorial control from the teams, which is entertaining for us viewers. We want to have the most spicy storylines possible. That if you're a team PR manager or media person and a rider, you're not going to be too content with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's also like the criticism we've heard from Drive to Survive as well. Like when it's not exciting enough, they spin a narrative. Do you think also we've seen Jumbo-Visma have done their own in-house documentaries as well? And do you think that could be the way forward for some of these teams now?
Well, that was the way beforehand, and I suspect we're going to get back to that. You know, if you look towards sort of 2021, 2020, there's a lot of sort of in-house films being made. You got Sunweb did theirs on the Giro in 2020. You got Jumbo-Visma did one in 2021. They also have Coda Hale that they did for Dutch national television, an amazing documentary if you want to watch that one about their 2020 tour. You get some fascinating insights into Roglic's Planche de Belfi stage. I think, yeah, we're going to go back to that kind of format, I believe. And that's going to put more of an emphasis on kind of teams' own videographers to kind of jump up and fill their spot. But I don't think, like, you know, if you're not into cycling, how are you going to know to subscribe to the Soudal Quickstep YouTube channel? Unless teams specifically work with sort of getting TV stations on board or trying to get their own Netflix stuff, a bit like Dia Menos Pensado that Movistar had a couple of years back, where they had a 3-season long Netflix-backed documentary. I mean, Soudal Quickstep had one on was it Amazon Prime, I believe. Maybe we'll sort of see teams trying to lean into that and sculpt their own sort of team-focused one. However, what was really good about Unchained is that you got to see multiple teams and multiple perspectives of that same narrative, of that same storyline. If it's just within one team, you only really get that one perspective, which I think it definitely sort of gives the one up to Unchained. But going forward, I mean, there's certainly a gap to be filled. What if the Giros did one instead?
Yeah, I was also thinking maybe ASO is probably going to be quite expensive as well. So if the Giro could,
I mean,
or no?
I mean, I don't necessarily know the financial side of it between the rights and the Tour de France and Netflix. I know they share media assets in terms of videos, and I know that for sure. But I don't necessarily know what the finances are around that. One thing I also, you know, One Cycling is looming on the horizon. One Cycling is going to have a big sort of broadcast overhaul, at least from what I know so far, is that One Cycling could potentially be on a new streaming platform. One that's been spoken about is DAZN, which is used for a lot of UFC fights in NFL. With One Cycling potentially being on a new streaming platform, that could also give way to having an extra sort of revenue stream, and that could be through a documentary like this. People will probably pay the subscription fee to be on like a sort of video service to watch a sort of inside One Cycling, particularly if One Cycling, as they promise, we're going to get the likes of Tadej Pogacar, Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel sort of racing head to head multiple times a year, and not just at the Tour de France. You can build a season long narrative. One Cycling is all about transforming cycling into this F1 structure. This could, like, that lends itself towards that F1 structure in terms of its media outlook. With Drive to Survive will be a similar narrative there.
I mean, British viewers know about the TNT buying all the rights and free to view air. Well, I'm just like reaching for straws here, but like grasping for straws. But my point is, do you think they might pick up the ball here and go, well, we could make a documentary like this? Do you think the Netflix vacuum that this will create could potentially do something? The Giro d'Italia, yeah, that would be quite interesting. But again, does that connect to the normal person? It's the same barrier. If the Tour can do it, sorry, Giro, I don't think you can do it.
Yeah, outside of Italy and sort of, I guess maybe Belgium, Netherlands, Giro is not really a kind of common known race. So I think it would definitely be tough. Have like sort of breakthrough to a new market without having the Tour de France headline there. Because that's just, it's the Tour de France. Everyone knows it. Even if you know about cycling or not, people have heard of the Tour de France. It's, the oldest of the three Grand Tours, the most prestigious, most watched. Perhaps there is a bit of a vacuum there to be filled. Will it be TNT Sports? Will it be someone else? TNT Sports, though, there's not much sort of horizontal integration with the rest of Europe. And I think you'll want to have that worldwide market appeal. Maybe Amazon Prime could jump in because cycling is on that platform already. It could encourage more people to subscribe. They already had the Soudal Quickstep documentary, which was relatively successful, I believe. And also, I think they released a documentary about Jan Ullrich on its German service of the platform as well. So I think Amazon Prime potentially could tap into that. But I mean, there are so many streaming platforms these days. There's like, there's too many to choose from. It's like crisp flavors. There seems to be so many. I'm kind of losing track. But Netflix definitely looks like they're stopping their support of cycling. And sorry, men's cycling. I was going to do cycling with the Tour de France fan, which I think is going to be exciting. I like the series aspect of it, of the men's one. Just having it as a one single documentary film would work. I think that in terms of the chronology would be better because the chronology in the men's series, God, you were like jumping across. You're in stage 1, you're in stage 18, then you're back to stage 4. You're losing track, and it's trying to tell a GC narrative, but it doesn't really make sense because you're jumping all across the place. If you have that sort of one-parter, continuous GC narrative throughout the Tour de France fam, I think that could succeed. However, we await proper confirmation that the Tour de France fam is going to receive its own documentary. Netflix haven't confirmed that. We just heard it from sources. And we also know it's going to have a different name. So it's not going to be called Unchained.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that they've cancelled it because we also saw like the Mark Cavendish documentary that came out on Netflix. So yeah. But I mean, the women's cycling might actually benefit from this. So that's not what I thought was going to happen. I thought they would cut it completely.
And I think that's a really, really great opportunity for women's cycling. There's a lot of men's cycling media out there, whether it's the team in-house stuff, whether it's the Mark Cavendish documentary and Unchained and El Dia Mina Pensado and all that. There's not that much in the women's. I know women's were mentioned in El Dia Mina Pensado, but it was pretty short. This is a huge opportunity. And also on these streaming services, Drive to Survive doesn't include women. There aren't any women in F1 anyway. I mean, as drivers at least. And they've covered a lot of these sports, but they don't follow the women's side of it. Tennis is one of the few ones. And I think in the women's sport, there are lots of captivating narratives. Demi Vollering is a really interesting character who's currently dominating the women's sport. She just got a deal with Nike. She's been very honest, appearing in podcasts. She's got a unique backstory as a florist who sort of accidentally became a pro cyclist. And there's plenty of interesting characters to go into. I mean, look at that Kopecky and Vollering narrative from last year. That could be multiple episodes in its own right. I know it's only a standalone documentary, but still, it would be fascinating to follow. I think this is a fantastic opportunity and one that will hopefully see the women's sport grow because it still has plenty of space to grow. There's not women's Lombardia. Let's change that. Let's try to boost the vigors of the Tour de France fam and the other women's Grand Tours going forward. I think this is fantastic for them.
Anyways, on that high note, that's basically it for this video, this short emergency chat about Netflix and the Tour de France Unchained. Hit the like button if you haven't already and let us know down below what you thought about this, and check out Ewan's own article as well. That will be in the link down below as well to read. But with that, thank you very much for watching, and We'll see you in the next one.